YouTube, it's me, Jen, your pudgy picker.
And Kim.
And we are here again for another podcast of Two Sisters.
Two booths. No, one booth.
I was going to say, when did we get a second booth?
I'm tired. It's just not working
So,
already.
evidently it's going to be one sister and two booths tonight. So, two sisters, one booth, where we talk about all things antique booth related. And tonight, our subject for podcast number 12 is what, Kim?
How to get along with everyone. Now,
Yeah.
you know, this is like my expertise area, right?
Oh, you are the queen of make no waves.
And it works pretty good.
There
most of the time.
ain't no rocking the boat with her. You know, it's funny. We're very different, I think, in that way.
Yes.
And you know what? Personality aside, you have to deal with customers, vendors, and the owners. Those are the three subjects, three different groups of people we're going to talk about that you have to get along with. And no matter how you tackle things in your day-to-day life, you kind of have to act a certain way when you're dealing with the public in a business situation.
Definitely.
Yeah.
Like it or not.
Pretty much. So when you think about us dealing with other vendors, customers, and owners, I think the shortest list for me when I was looking over this is customers. Because really, there are regulars that come in, but there are truly very few difficult customers.
Mm-hmm.
So, you know, how do we get along with customers?
Well, you only have to deal with them usually for a short period of time, so.
That's true. That's very true.
And I know they always say the customer is always right, but that's well, sorta.
It's one of those yes/no answers that we're so famous for.
Yes.
So, you think about it, if you're helping a customer, even if it's a day that we're working, you know, a customer may only be in there for a certain amount of time. And truly, I would say we rarely get anybody who's truly difficult.
Unless they want a candelabra.
Oh, my goodness. So if you haven't listened to previous podcasts of ours, we had a customer. It was on a Saturday. It was during our anniversary month, which our mall plans to do demonstrations, and we have a cake and all this stuff. So it's like a big celebration for the whole month of April. And we just had our second year one this past April. And we were there doing a demonstration. We were sitting up front. Mm-hmm. So we're talking to customers as they come in because we were close to the front door. And we had a customer come in, and she was an older lady. And she stopped pretty much in front of our table and looked at us and said, "Do you work here?" And that was the moment I knew it was not going to be a pleasant exchange.
And I just let you go.
So there's this moment of wanting to go, no.
It depends.
So even though we were there demonstrating, we weren't technically working in the store. We thought, well, if she has a question, of course we'll answer because we're helpful folks. And that's the way we're supposed to be, even if you're there stocking your booth or whatever you're doing, straightening up, you know, to be helpful to customers in any way you can help. And this lady was not going to be satisfied.
No.
So it ended up she was looking for candelabras. And
what kind of candelabra?
Silver.
She
I wish I had them because she
silver.
probably would have paid for them. But that would have been a lot of money. But that being beside the point, she didn't want to hear the explanation of we have over 100 vendors and everyone has their own space. So we're not set up like a department store. You don't come in and you have, you know, housewares and automotive and kitchen items, and we just don't. Everybody has their own individual space, and whatever they happen to bring in, there's no way we can keep track of every vendor bringing in goodies and say, oh, there's a candelabra. I will file that in my brain for later when someone asks.
But you couldn't even complete one sentence, and
No.
she was raising her voice, and
So, pretty much, She wouldn't listen to the explanation. She's like, no, just tell me where they are. You know,
She didn't like our answer, and she grabbed somebody else that was walking by.
another vendor walked by and she said, forget it, I'll just ask her. And the look on her face was like, oh, what did I walk into, you know?
Threw me into the lion den.
So pretty much there was really no making her happy, you know, and it would have been so easy to just say, you know what, just go.
Yeah.
You can't do that, because if they're coming in and they're looking for something and you can possibly help them and you're going to make a sale, that would be great, but she was beyond
Well, and
unreasonable.
besides that, it's not even, you know, that's a great thing if it resulted in a sale. But you have to remember, you can have 100 people walk in through that door and love every second while they're there, grinning ear to ear, tell you what a great place it is, and all the compliments in the world. It only takes one person to walk in that store and be disgruntled in any way that can totally ruin everything about the store by their word of mouth. You know, one person can...
Yeah, I went in there and nobody knew where anything was, and they were rude, and they wouldn't answer my questions. And
So no matter what, when you're handling customers, smile, make direct eye contact, be as helpful as you can. If you can't help them, ask other vendors or people around to see if they're... Because I don't walk the store, I'm always at the cashier, so if they're asking me, have you seen or I'm looking for... A lot of times I'll grab one of the people that's there and walking all the time, because
and
they're up and down the aisles. They see more than I do.
And there are people who have several spaces or a double space or more than one single space, and they end up working more days, so they are there walking around more than we are.
Yeah.
And like we've said before, there's certain vendors that tend to carry certain types of items. So in a basic way, you know, do you know anybody who has comics, who has coins, who has men type things, street signs, you know, that kind of stuff? You automatically know where to send them. You know, train sets, you know, all kinds of things that people carry, basic type of items. But then there's a whole plethora of other stuff.
Yeah.
And you never know what somebody's gonna bring in. And literally,
very eclectic, like our booth. We have such a variety of stuff in and out of there.
Yeah. So, you know, when it comes to customer personalities, you just have to smile and try and help them and realize that you're not going to make everybody happy, but you don't want to lose your cool. And I can honestly say, in the 2 years we've been there, that's probably the rudest customer we've ever had.
I thought I was going to have to rein you back in.
I could feel my face getting hot. And I must have had a look on my face, because Kim's looking at me like, just take a deep breath. You know, she kept looking at me like, are you okay? You okay? So, I mean, I felt my dander rising with her, because she was being totally, totally unreasonable. But
she was just being rude, obnoxious, very loud.
Yeah.
I mean, she was just not a nice person.
Yeah, so you can imagine what she's like in her day-to-day life. She's probably that pleasant all the time.
I just know if I saw her come up on my caller ID, I wouldn't be picking it up.
So you think about it, you know, customer personalities, you only have to deal with them for a short amount of time. And we're in the kind of place that is a place where people want to go. So the chance of running across somebody being mad because they can't find the bread or eggs, and they hate grocery shopping, and you're working in the grocery store, I think it's a lot less, because people go there to have fun. They're having a good time by looking at things. So I think, you know, somebody who's grumpy, I mean, that's pretty few and far between, thankfully. So, next we will talk about vendor personalities.
We've known a lot of those too over time, haven't we?
If you think about it, like we've said a million times before, we have over 100 vendors there. And that is a wide variety of personalities. We have young, we have old, we have married, we have single, we have working people, retired people, men, women. We have a whole, spectrum.
Not nice, but never mind.
We have a whole spectrum of personalities. And there are some quirky people working in the reselling business. I don't know. I know I'm quirky, but Some people make me look totally sane and normal. I'll tell you that. So,
Yes.
what do you have to say about that, Kim?
Well, it's true, and I think over time, we've known, because we've been in a couple of different places, we've met a lot of people over time, and you have some that are busybodies, and they have to know everything going on, and they have to talk about everybody, and they have an opinion on everyone, and they love more than anything to stop and gossip and talk badly, or just spread rumors or make up things they think and spread it as truth. And
Yep.
I'm going to tell you, getting started in this podcast, that a lot of my opinions are how I deal with my daily life.
Yep.
And so people like that is, we were at the other place a long time, and then you'd hear something and we'd look at each other and go, I didn't know that. Did you know that? No, I didn't know. Did you hear that? No. Were you? No. Because when there was people gathering together and you knew who they were,
Oh, yeah.
we just steered clear of them.
Yeah.
Because my main purpose of doing this is I'm here for business. I'm here to make money. I'm not here to win friends and influence people, as they say.
Pretty much.
So, if I make a friend along the way, that's great. But I don't want to get in that rumor mill. I don't want to be any part of the gossip or anything else. And just because I may not like someone, or I didn't care how they spoke or acted or whatever, I'm not going to stand around and talk badly about them, because all it does is it brings everybody down, and it makes it worse. So I don't do it.
Well, and if we're working, I mean, if you got time to stand around and yap at somebody and go into great detail on what you heard and what you think you heard and what you think, you're not doing your job. You need to be at whatever you're supposed to be there.
Well, and they're always announcing it at the meetings, because people forget. This isn't closed off rooms, okay? They are walls.
Yep.
And they don't go all the way to the ceiling, and voices carry. So you can be 2 aisles over, and you can hear vendors standing over there griping and complaining or talking bad about people. And I know, as just a shopper myself, I don't want to hear that.
Yeah.
Because that leaves a really bad taste in my mouth for the business. So if you're going to, if you're into that sort of thing and you want to stand around and act like that, you're demolishing the reputation of that store. You're making other people feel uncomfortable that you're not even aware can hear you on the other side. And it's not a good, positive thing for your business.
Mm-hmm. That's true. And I tell you, anytime you get a group of people,
Oh, yeah.
and I hate to say a group of women, because I'm sure somebody will be upset by that, but you're getting you're getting all these different personalities, and it's not like you're all hanging out at somebody's house because you're all friends and you all have some kind of common denominator that brings you together. This is an eclectic mix of people, and there are some people there that you will not care for. And there are some people that you would probably not associate with
Exactly.
if you had a choice.
Oops,
There
sorry.
goes your phone. So to say, that's very true. There are people there that you kind of like. There's people I always make sure I say hi to.
Yeah.
We have people that we like and get along with. Or if you go into work and you see that they're on the schedule, you're happy because you know it's going to be fun.
I could think of one right now. I never get to see her because she always works different days and that. She is the sweetest thing. She has a brightest smile, and she's always happy, and she's always positive, and those are the kind of people I like to be around.
That's so nice for you to say that about me.
Oh, sorry. Choked on a grape.
Wow.
Choked on a grape.
Brutal. So, and it's funny, too, because you have people, so-and-so, they're always kind of crabby and blah, blah, blah.
I hate
and
that.
those are the people I always try and make an extra effort to get to know,
Yep.
because some of those people that are supposed to be crabby, crummy people, those are some of the nicest people. They don't open up easily, and when you get to know them, you see how much,
They
it's
become
just,
your favorites.
yeah, so, don't take anyone's word for it. Everybody's different.
We all have bad days, too, so you don't know if that person was having a bad day and they just got labeled.
And since we work, Kim seems to work specific days and I seem to work specific days, there are people, I don't ever really work on a weekend. You work Saturdays.
Mm-hmm.
But I rarely work on a Saturday or a Sunday. So a lot of the vendors that are full-time workers somewhere else do their work days on weekends. So there's a lot of people that vendors I don't particularly know very well, because when they're there, I'm not there. So, it's kind of one of those. There are some vendors you kind of really don't ever really get to know because of the different days that they work.
Mm-hmm. Well, and because of the amount of days that you have to work, depending on how many spaces that you have in that, which we've discussed before. So some people are like always there.
Yeah.
They just live there.
Yeah.
So when they're there every day and they're hanging out with the same people every day, I'm sure personalities can clash a little easier.
Yeah.
When you and I we have 2 days for our booth, so we split the days. She takes one, I take the other. So it's only 1 day a month. That's also my excuse if I have a bad day at the cash register.
Yeah.
And I can't remember how to do
I
something.
don't do this every day.
No, I said, well, if you think about it, I only work once a month cashiering, so for a whole year I've only cashiered 12 times.
That's true, yeah.
Yeah. So,
Well, and I know that all vendors are encouraged to, I don't know if you remember this from some of the meetings too, that they've been saying, if you have a single booth and you work 2 days, you almost have to make one of those days a weekend.
yeah.
So, because a lot of the people
That's
up there
busy
are
up
like
there.
retired
Yeah.
or whatever, so that they like to work, on a day and then have the weekends free. With us, it kind of works out because you work a Saturday and I seem to work Fridays, because during the summer I can work a Thursday or a Friday. Wednesday we kind of leave open for our restocking day.
We used to always work like Fridays
Yeah.
at the other place, but then my son ended up getting a real job. So because at the time someone had to be here with my mom. So because he was at work, I couldn't leave mom. So that's why I switched to Saturdays.
We had a bigger space too, so we had a double space.
Yeah.
So that was 4 days.
Yeah.
So, that could add up.
Mm-hmm.
But so that works out for us during the summer, with of course garage sale on Thursdays. So Friday seems to be the day I work. I can do either a Thursday or a Friday, when the weather's colder and it's not garage sale season. But there are some different types of personalities. There's certain vendors who are very quiet. There are some very different people.
Oh, yeah.
Artsy fartsy.
Airheads. I'm
Eccentric.
sorry. Only way I could think of some of them is airheads.
Ooh, we're gonna. If you hear any scratching, she'll be writing names down so I can see. No, and you know what?
They just drift off. They're like doing something, and the next thing you know, they're walking away. It's like, what? They weren't finished doing what they're well. They just walk away.
Yeah. And there are situations we've had where we've had to speak up and say, hey, don't do that, or I'd really appreciate if you didn't do this or you did that. And even that can be handled in a nice way. We had another vendor when we came in to work our booth, and they had pulled a stool out of our booth and were using it to sit on because they were working in their space. And at first,
How rude.
I'm kind of like, okay.
That kind of looks like mine.
Yeah, and then she happened to say, "Well, we're borrowing your stool. You don't mind, do you?" And I said, "Actually, I do." And she kind of looked at me like, "Well, you expected me to go, it's
Yeah.
fine."
Mm-hmm.
And I said, "Because if you're sitting on it, nobody sees that it's for sale, and that's kind of why it's here, is to sell."
Yep.
So, you have to, if you have a situation that, it's a little uncomfortable, or you have to speak up, it can be done in a kind way. You don't need to be a jerk about it.
Yeah.
But it set an expectation that you won't be doing that again.
Yeah.
So, what other examples or things that can you think of?
Oh, I don't know now.
The other thing I thought of was there was a vendor who, when they would be restocking their booth, would be into the aisle to the point where customers couldn't get through, and they would kind of hem-haw like they're trying to get around it, and this vendor would say, "You'll have to go back the way you came."
Oh.
Now, needless
No,
to say,
no.
I have never been around when that vendor had said that, because I would have said something after the fact. I would have said, "Look, you can't tell vendors that it's a 5 foot wide aisle. There's no way you can take up that much space and you're creating a tripping hazard," and tell the customer, "Oh, you're just going to have to go around."
Yeah, no.
Yeah.
No.
So, I mean, there's
The customer always comes first.
yeah, so there's
Always.
different personalities and different things that happen that you may have to, speak up and say something, but it can always be done in a kind way.
Yep.
So, what else? What else can I think of? Certain vendors have told, I've heard them tell customers, "Oh, well, if you want a better price, we could just call the vendor." Now, it is true that, some vendors, a lot of vendors, will negotiate on price, but that's not something you should bring up.
No.
That's not something you should suggest. I mean, think about your own stuff. If you had another vendor say that about something in your booth, that you probably wouldn't be too happy about it. So you kind of have to put yourself
Yeah.
in that place to think, would I really want someone to do that as well? So little things like that, because when we're working there, we're working for other vendors, and we want to give 100%. And you hope that other vendors, when they're working for you, and they're giving 100% as well to make sales for you.
Yeah. And that's, I think, part of the getting along with other vendors section that we're on is it's not just how other people are going to help you, but how you are helping other people. They get to know you as someone that's there, who is conscious of what they're doing, who knows the rules, who follows through, who is always there to make it a positive experience for the customers. They know who's there that knows what they're doing and is positive for the store. And just the same as they know who the busybodies are and stuff. So you want to put that best foot forward, because you're helping then the other customers, you're helping the other vendors, and they recognize that.
Plus, you realize that people who are walking around and helping customers should not be doing anything for themselves on their work days. You shouldn't be straightening your booth. You shouldn't be repricing things at your booth. You shouldn't be looking around shopping for yourself to the exclusion of everything around you. Because when you are paying attention and you're helping customers and you're greeting customers, that deters theft as well. So, I mean, when you're helping other vendors and you're, dealing with them in that way, I mean, it's helping all of us.
Well, and we have gotten the complaints up at the customer service counter and that saying, I needed help, and there was a group of vendors standing back there talking amongst themselves.
Yep.
And they walked right past me or whatever, and they never even offered, they never looked at me, they never nothing.
Yeah.
So that leaves a really bad taste in the customer's mouth.
Yeah. So, and when we're there working, if you are in a situation where you have work days, I mean, you're not there for yourself. I know if Kim or I work, the days that we work, we'll go in a few minutes early, of course, to be there for like a morning meeting for them to just say, hey, here's some different things that are going on, here's some reminders. But I try and be there 10 to 15 minutes before that so that I can look in our booth, straighten up, make sure the floor is clean, make sure there's no merchandise on the floor, that kind of thing. So if you are coming in for a day of working, and you're not real close, then you might want to get there a few minutes early so that you can, straighten up a little bit or give your booth that attention that it needs.
Yeah, and well, here's one of my true life stories here. I have tried to teach my children. I've always said that the minute that you walk through that threshold into that business, even if you're not on the clock yet, the minute you walk in that threshold, you are then representing that business. So you leave your baggage, your frustrations, your bad morning, your I didn't get my cup of coffee, I had a fight last night, whatever. You leave that at the door the minute you walk in, and the entire time you're there, you're on the clock for that business and for your business and their business. So there isn't any, like they say, if you go by your booth and you see somebody's purchased something big, and so they've taken things off and set it on the floor, yeah, you should go in there for a minute, pick up, straighten up, so it's not a tripping hazard. Things aren't going to get broken and that, but you're not supposed to stand in there for 20 minutes to an hour straightening up.
Yeah.
That's not the point. So as long as you keep the attitude, I am here for a job today. I am here to represent my store and the business, and everything you do should be revolved around that. And then the minute you walk out the door, then you pick back up your life and go on. If you need to straighten and stock, you do it another day. That's business only that day.
Mm-hmm. So we've talked about customer personalities and vendor personalities. Now we're going to move on to personalities of the people who own the business. The two people that own our business are a married couple, and they are either both there or one or the other is there. And they also have someone who is a manager that is also another vendor there. And on the rare occasion, like this week, they're out of town on vacation, so the manager is there all the time to take care of business. So we have a lot of one-on-one. We don't have like people who own the mall and then they hire people to, run it. They're never there. So they are very hands-on with their business. They'll do anything from ringing out a customer to helping them move something or, bag something. There's nothing that they say, well, that's too menial for me, or, hey, come over here and take care of this, little simple task because I'm too important to take care of that.
And they're just not always sitting around in the office, just watching TV or videos. And
yep.
If they're in the office, they're doing something work-related. Otherwise, they are constantly out on the floor.
Yeah.
Constantly out, working the floor, helping customers, moving stuff, answering questions. They are on it.
Yeah. So in this, when we reference them, we'll call them Mr. Owner and Mrs. Owner. I'm trying to get Mrs. Owner to do an interview. In fact, I've given her questions. So keep an eye on that, we'll be doing questions with her. But I even jokingly say to her sometimes, I'll say, you need a pair of roller skates today. Because
oh, yeah.
I told her, I
nonstop.
said, you're going to have to wear like what do they call it? A pedometer.
Yeah.
I said, I would love to see how many miles you walk in a day. She is just, both of them are always helping a
But that's
customer.
why this business is only 2 years old, but is doing phenomenal for a 2-year-old business.
Yep.
Because they care and they put their heart and soul into this just like you and I do.
Yeah. And I think we just heard today about the waiting list to get in.
Oh, yeah. We were saying, what, 250? And what did they say it was today?
375.
375 people are on a list to get in here.
Yeah. And there's 110 spaces?
Well, you ain't taking my space anytime soon. Well, we're 111. So there's got to be more than 110.
Oh,
or...
I'm thinking of our neighbor, our eclectic neighbor next door, but his vendor number, I was confusing his vendor number with his space number.
Yeah.
So
'cause
yeah,
our
I
booth
mean,
is
you have
111.
what? So you have 112 booths? So
Plus the furniture room, plus the front gallery, plus the place to hang up pictures, and
so I mean, you have that's
that's a lot.
And there's a lot of people who have more than one space. There's people who are constantly moving around. So if someone that's already in the mall says, "Hey, I want an additional space," or "I have a single space, I'd like a double space," whenever there has come available a space, which doesn't happen real often, they check their list and see, because vendors get preference and if there's nobody on the inside that needs another booth or wants to move, then they'll go to that list. And we have actually had some new people.
Yeah.
Our
you.
neighbor across the aisle, she's a newbie.
Mm-hmm.
She's only been there a couple of months.
Mm-hmm.
So,
She has nice stuff.
yeah, she does.
She has nice stuff, and she displayed it real well. She's a good newbie.
That's good. Yeah, she's,
She has nice stuff.
so, that's But that's a lot. I mean, the reputation of the place,
Yeah.
and people want to be in there, so that speaks, volumes. Now, we've talked kind of a little bit about, working and being there and, you know, paying attention and making sure you're, doing your thing. But to go along with that, if you are the kind of vendor that the owner doesn't have to constantly babysit. Oh, is Jen and Kim, are they staying on task? Are they in their booth when they're supposed to be working? Are they too busy talking that they don't see a customer has the needs? When there's a space and I ask them to take a different job for the day, are they fussing about it? Or are they, you know what, I'm here for you, put me wherever you want? Are we following the rules? Are we do we have, like, we're not allowed to sell clothes. There are some vendors who try and squeeze some clothes in there. Well, these are old, or these are football uniforms, or these are this or that. No, no clothes means no clothes. Are we constantly having to be babysat and rechecked because we're not following the rules? Do we have...
Never.
Yeah, so, I mean, it's funny because one of the questions I'm going to ask Mrs. Owner, and she even laughed because she goes, I know the answer to that one right away. I don't need time to think about it. Was, what's your favorite part of the business and what's the most difficult? And she said, it's the same. It's people. She said, because I can come in and I know who's on schedule and who's going to give me a hard time and who's going to have to be babysat pretty much. And we're all adults there and we all know what we're supposed to be doing. Are we making more work for the owners? And if we're constantly being a pain and a thorn in their side, what happens when something comes up and we need someone to understand or to be a little flexible with us? Are we constantly calling in late? Are we constantly not showing up? Oh, you call, hey, you're working today. Oh, I have no idea. I'll be there in an hour.
I know a couple like
that.
Yeah.
So, I mean, are you,
Yeah.
things happen, but are you constantly having to be watched over? And that's something big. So when something comes up or we're sick or we've had some difficulties the last couple months where, we've had to reschedule, it's been okay because we're not normally having to be constantly accommodated for because we're always there when we say we're going to be there. We're on time, we're on task, and, we're hard workers.
Try very hard to be.
So, yeah, so the owners, they're your partners in this business. Their success is yours, and your success is theirs. So if things are going well, and they're really working hard, and we're working hard, that's going to make it successful for everybody. Because, then that makes their business successful as well. And, to have managers and owners who are so hands-on, I mean, it's really awesome. And they've gone above and beyond. I mean, I've had her call me more than once. Hey, I had a customer, they have a question about something in your booth, so it's her, she's out there, they're both out there working it. So, are we easy to deal with? Are we flexible? Mm-hmm. Like what we said about work days, being on time. Are we doing our assigned work? When you take a break, we all get a half an hour for lunch. Are we over there for 40 minutes? Are we there for 45 minutes?
Yeah, are you always sneaking off to get a drink or sneaking off and sitting in the bathroom and texting? You're sneaking off to go smoke 10 minutes at a time out the back?
Yeah, so, and I'm sure the owner, any owner could tell you exactly who is a pain in the butt to work with and who they're glad is there. So, and of course they'll be, our owners are very politically correct, very kind people, and they're not going to call anybody out. But they know who the problem is. So
I think that just for me, the main theme that would, I think, cover it for me in my mind is respect. If you go in to this having respect for yourself and respect for the owners and what they're trying to do to help you and to help themselves, and having respect of the people that you're working with. Now, that may not mean that, like you said, that I respect them so much that I admire them, I want to emulate them, be just like them. But what I mean is have respect that I may not like them. I may not get along with them. I may be a total different viewpoint on their conversations that but you don't want to have that negative conversation going on there. It's just have the respect. I have to work with you, so I'm going to treat you nicely. And if things get uncomfortable, I'm not going to comment on those conversations, or I'm going to walk away from them. But by having respect for yourself and those around you, everyone can get along. Everyone can have a decent day of it, go home to do whatever they want to do, and it's beneficial to everyone in the long run.
Yeah, and
RESPECT. Oh, sorry.
Thank you. Hey, copyright infringement. You better watch that.
Oops.
And think about it, too. There's so many people that, dealing with other people does come naturally, but there's a large portion of people that they don't. I mean, that's something they really have to work on because they're not naturally outgoing or not naturally, demonstrative and, hey, how you doing? And I mean, that's totally against how they normally are.
Yeah.
So we're not saying that all these things come easy to anyone.
Yeah.
But it can be a challenge. There are people who are just more prone to be, hey, how you doing? And conversation. We're very much that way.
Oh, very gabby.
So,
Yeah.
I mean, but there are some people that it really does take a lot of effort because that's just not how they naturally are.
Yeah.
So I think that about covers it. Is there any other comment you wanted to add to that?
I don't think so. So I think I got in everything I wanted to say.
So, yeah, that's it. It about covers it, but it's, there are different personalities. There are major different personalities between the owners of where we were previously, and we're very fortunate where we are now that, it is such a kind, gentle atmosphere, and there's mutual respect, and
but
it can be very difficult.
Even there were some uncomfortable moments, let's just put it that way, in the years past. But again, you and I, we had a big difference of experience than a lot of the other people.
Yeah.
Because we treated the owners with respect. And there again, that word respect.
Yep.
If that owner spoke to us or had a conversation with us, we didn't overreact with our tone of voice, or we tried to think about what we wanted to say if we had to talk to them about anything important. And we treated that conversation with respect. We treated the owner with respect. And even if at the end of the day we didn't agree,
Yeah.
they treated us with respect, and we treated them with respect. So it wasn't a super duper uncomfortable situation. I was still able to carry out my work and do what we needed to do for the booth, and still be able to interact with that person. And we're on a business level. That's what it is, a business level.
Well, and it comes back to if you're there and you're not doing your job and you're goofing off, and a personality of an owner could be like, not just, hey, you're really supposed to be working, we really, you'd rather not this or that. I mean, he could get, things like that would really upset him. And it became a personal thing. So if you are working there and you're doing what you're supposed to be doing, and there's really no reason for him or anyone else to hover and see what you're doing. You're there, you put in your time, you give 100%, and then you clock out and you go home. You don't have to agree with that person. You don't want to hang out with them day and night.
Yeah, and going out to have a beer.
Yeah, it is you go there, you do your job, you do what you're supposed to do, and like we said, we had a total different, and there could be a lot of, hey, did you hear this? Hey, and Kim and I have never made that, if somebody starts, hey, listen, I want to tell you this, we either shut down the conversation in some way, or we say, oh, I got something I got to do. I mean, we just get ourselves out of that situation because the more, there is a saying of, added knowledge breeds added responsibility. And there are things I just don't want to know. It's none of my business for a large part of it. If you have a problem with the owner, you're having a problem with another vendor, you need to figure that out. I'm
Yeah,
not
don't
gonna,
drag me
yeah,
in.
I'm not gonna be a party to this. It's not like, hey, let me tell you this. This is my side. I so don't need that. And like you said, that might be harder to step away and to be less knowledgeable about that if you're not there. If you're there every day, that's probably because I know some of the biggest offenders are people who are there all the time.
Yeah.
And they see a lot and they hear a lot and they know a lot.
Yeah.
And I don't really need to do that.
No.
And I base, how I deal with the owners on my personal experience. So if someone says, well, Mr. Owner or Mrs. Owner said this or that, I don't want to hear it.
No.
If somebody came up and told me, you shouldn't talk to this person or that person's this way or that way, I base how I feel about people on my personal experience.
Yeah.
I don't take anyone's word for it.
Yeah, that's
So-
exactly the way I've always done it too. Because we've learned from experience over years that a lot of times their take on things isn't right.
Yeah.
And like you said in the beginning of this, there's been people we've been told, you better watch out for that one, because that one will stab you in the back, or
That
one
one's
is
grumpy all the
Oh,
time.
and they're just mean and they're rude to you, and I'll tell you, well, there's been a couple they've been right on, but but even then, I let them prove it to me, not hearsay. But yeah, that's the way I do my life. Another saying I always told my kids when they'd have problems with kids in school, I'm like, how many people live on this planet Earth? How many billions of people live here?
Yep.
So if you have someone that's aggravating you or doesn't treat you good or whatever, move on.
Yeah.
Shut them down and move on. There's millions of other people out there to become friends with, hang out with, or find, So that's the same way it is there. I don't have to like you. I may have to work with you. So I'm going to treat you respectfully because it makes my day go easier. I don't care about nothing else.
That's true.
And as long as I can get through the day without hurting anyone, we're all doing good.
I haven't punched anybody today.
But yeah.
So yeah. So that's good advice. And it's true, like anywhere you work, even if it's not an antique mall, if you work at a grocery store and you're there with the same people all the time, and Sally starts yapping about Susie and Susie's yapping about Fred. I mean, it's just one of those things that it can happen anywhere. I mean, an antique mall is, it's nothing special as far as, it is a building where people have to be for a certain amount of time every day, and you're going to come across that, and you just have to, decide what is going to work best for me, because I've always wanted this to be fun. And when we first started, it was kind of side money. So, I've come to rely on the money more, I would say. But I always said, if this gets to be a pain or this gets to be really unfun, I'm going to find something else to do.
Yeah.
And that's,
But I make it fun every time you're with me.
Yes, it's our excuse to get together.
And I feed her good.
Yeah, she does feed me when I come over. So, I guess that's all for now. If you have any questions, please leave them in the comment section down below. If you want to send me a message and you don't want your name or your comment down to be down below, you can contact me, jen@pudgypicker.com. You can also follow me on Twitter under The Pudgy Picker. Please give this video a thumbs up. I got to remember all this stuff. See, this is a lot of work.
You want me to hold up cue cards?
I was going to say, you never contribute to this end of it. But also subscribe if you haven't already. If you're new to my channel, I do lots of haul videos from auctions, garage sales, estate sales, thrift stores. We do booth tours. We show you what's going on there. Of course, we do our podcast. There's an occasional how-to. I just looked the other day and I have like almost 360 videos. That's crazy.
And I'm not sick of you yet.
My son who uploads my videos is like, man, I gotta hear you talk even when you're not in the room. Then I always say, you'll miss me when I'm gone.
Then you can turn on all the videos and remember all the things I did.
There you go. So that's all we got.
Your legacy.
Yeah, my legacy. We will see you next time. Say something inspiring or crazy, Kim, please.
One small step for man. Oh, no, wrong.
All this plagiarism
I
going
know,
on
I'm
here
just
tonight.
going to be in all kinds of trouble, aren't I?
Okay.
It's okay. It's your channel, not
Yeah,
mine.
Thanks. Okay, we'll see you next time, guys.
Bye.
Bye.